Kasho sat down with two of the nicest and most influential people in our industry, Sally and Jamie Brooks, for a low-key chat about Brooks & Brooks, the industry, and where they believe it's heading.
Myself and Jamie met a few years ago, because we're not that old, quite a long time ago. Now, it's quite a funny situation because it was the first day that I'd qualified as a senior on the floor. And my first client was a graduated bob. Anyone out there that's just qualified, don't really want a graduated bob on your first client. So I was really sweaty and really concentrating. Jamie had arrived from Australia and done his trade test, and Trevor Sorby had told him that he couldn't cut a graduated bob. So go on the floor and watch somebody cut him. My first ever haircut as a senior. And Jamie looked like a businessman. So I thought he was checking what I was doing. Sweaty palms, sweaty face, graduated bob, difficult client, somebody I don't know observing. That is how we met. Do you remember that?
A few years ago only.
A few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the first time that we kind of worked together in the salon.
Yeah, and obviously I didn't know that Sal had just qualified. To me, like Trevor, we both worked for Trevor Sorby's, and he just said, obviously your graduated bob, the way you cut them, totally different to what we do here in the UK. So go and watch one.
Somebody do it. It's not me.
Yeah, there was a girl upstairs cutting hair, and I was like, she's doing a graduated bob. I was like, perfect.
I got into this industry because I wanted something that had a zillion opportunities that could stretch me. I think hairdressing is one of them industries that has so many avenues and so many different things we can do that my brain never allowed to stand still. From working in a salon, to being a salon owner, to doing shows, to doing photographic. It's the most incredible industry for what the opportunities are if you work hard.
Yeah, my journey into this industry was somewhat different. I grew up in Sydney in Australia. I went to a very academic all-boys school. My father was a barrister. I was originally pushed down the academic route to go into law. Clearly, that didn't work after 13 years of full-time education. I actually wanted to have a job. I worked part-time at McDonald's as a student, of all things. And I really enjoyed working rather than just academic. And I felt I was going to be more cut out to actually have a job, to work. One of my school friends, his dad owned a chain of salons. I then did a couple of days. I did try it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chat. I enjoyed the social side. I enjoyed the working with young people. There was a million things that I liked.
So that was the start. And then we were both at the beginning of our career as a senior. So we were testing constantly. We were meeting models. We were working every weekend, and we just naturally gravitated towards each other. I think work ethic, a lot of it had to do with. We were constantly looking for new opportunities. We were constantly practicing hair. We were constantly, we lived in an absolute shithole flat. We lived in an absolutely tiny house flat.
In a room, in a tiny
We lived in a room.
Yeah.
But, that was the fun of it, the fun of qualifying straight away and starting to explore the industry and, starting to do tests and work with fashion photographers. And all of that was just a natural, and because we both just kind of gravitated towards it.
Yeah, and I kind of think because, we used to, because obviously we both were at the start of the career, and, we didn't have the sort of thing of, oh, my partner does this, or, they work 9 to 5. So we worked in the same salon. So we just tended to kind of push each other as well. So it was actually helpful that we were somewhat competitive at the start because it makes you a better hairdresser. And also back then in the 90s, it was a lot freer and easier. Like you could phone up a model agency, they'd send you half a dozen girls for a test, you'd have it published. It was really easy. There was no cost.
I'll give you a really funny story of something that happened in that time. Jamie went to do a photo shoot for Hello magazine, and he worked with a model called Jodie Kidd. Jodie Kidd?
Yes, it was.
Worked with a model called Jodie Kidd, and supermodel at the time. Now, this Jodie Kidd asked Jamie if he ever entered the British Hairdressing Awards, and Jamie explained that we didn't have any money, so we weren't in that position.
Because they were self-funded.
Self-funded, didn't have the position to do it. So Jodie Kidd volunteered to model for the British Hairdressing Awards. Supermodel. So we said to our boss, Trevor Sorby, we're doing a shoot on the Sunday, can we have the keys? We've just found a young little photographer that doesn't really have any experience. Yeah. Who's your model? Jodie Kidd. It's like, yeah, right. Yeah, no, yeah, right. Ha, 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 ha. So anyway, Jodie Kidd came to the salon. She paid her own travel. She paid her own food. She taught the photographer how to take her picture. She let her model agency know that we could use them for any picture that we wanted to do. And at the end of the day, what she said to us is, when I started my career, somebody gave something to me to help me in my career. It's quite emotional, actually. I am giving it back, and all I ask is that you pass that on to somebody else afterwards.
So basically, Sal and I worked throughout for 10 years at Trevor Sorby's. And Sal and I particularly wanted to go a different route, and I wanted to do fashion. And unfortunately, the company where it was at that period, at that moment, it was all about getting coverage. It could be about, being in gossip magazines, anything to sell products.
It's a thing, because myself especially, I adored my job. I was the artistic director of Trevor Sorby. I absolutely loved my job, and I never actually thought that we would have our own business. I was very happy doing what we were doing. That I never dreamt of having my own salon. It was never something in what I was thinking at all. I thought I would actually be there forever, to be perfectly honest. But what happens, and I think this is an interesting thing, is there's certain things that happen from a business perspective that you work for. And I started to say I didn't think that they were doing the right thing. And I don't think as an employee you have the right to do that. Like if somebody wants to paint the salon green and you say, I don't think you should paint it green, I think you should paint it pink. You start to go, actually, maybe it's time to do your own thing. You have your own ideas and your own ways of doing things. And that's not negative to the person you work with. That's just time to step aside and try to do something yourself. And you can't criticize a company you work for, then it's time to go and do something on your own. And we both just got to that position. And we thought we'd open a very small salon.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to...
No, the reason I'm laughing is because everybody always says to us, what's your mission statement?
Including our own manager.
Including our own manager. And what's your business plan?
Yeah, what are your budgets?
We have always a little bit winged our business.
Yeah.
We have never set too many things in place because it doesn't allow other opportunities to happen. We're very on our balls of our feet, running. We run quite hard and we take different things. And the business changes depending on who we employ. So sometimes we've had a salon that is so creative, we've been so creative, almost too creative or slightly rock and roll.
Yeah.
We've then had a business...
But losing money.
But totally from the outside, fully. We've also then had a business that is too business focused. But it depends who we employ, and we try to employ to keep the balance across the whole business. So we very much go, we don't want 7,000 creatives and we don't want 7,000 business. But what we don't want is fully one or the other. So we try and do the business like that. But sometimes somebody can start and they're so passionate, so hungry and so this, and it takes us in a different direction. And we tend to run with that direction. And then that person might move on and do something, and this person goes, we run quite quick.
Yeah.
We move quite quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have a lot of rules, we don't have mission statements as such, but we have a real belief in the craft of hairdressing. We want people to be the best version of themselves, to achieve...
We want people to really achieve their goals, and we want people to challenge us.
And whatever that goal is, your goal might be to have the front cover of Vogue, it might be to be fully booked, it might be to be on stage in front of 1,000 people. It could be anything. And our job as bosses and mentors is to help people actually achieve it. But we are not babysitters. We will only work with passionate people who want to be better, people who just come in for an easy ride because it's Brooks & Brooks and we attract clients and do it. That's never going to cut it here. Yeah. It's about, you have to leave the business almost in a better place than you found it. We want everyone to actually contribute. We are a team, we're fully employed. We want that Brooks & Brooks team. And really for us, because we're in it quite a long time now, we would like Brooks & Brooks to become something once we go. Do you know what I mean? Once we hang up the scissors and move on.
You want the same work ethic.
I want the same, and one thing, you don't follow the crowd. You should always...
We're very good at not following crowd.
You have to do what you think is right for the time. And yeah, I mean, for me, I want to see my staff happy. I want to see them earning money. I want to see them fulfill what they want to achieve. And obviously, we've been in the business for quite a long time now, and now I drive a lot of pleasure by seeing my young team on, like, you know, the It List Awards have just come out, and we've got young team on it, you know, the under 30s, and they're really excited. And, you know, I feel now more it's about giving opportunities to other people. I suppose in a nutshell,
That's the company.
yes, that is the company. Yeah, I mean, we created a company in that we want to work in.
Yes. You can't leave your own business. So that business has to be somewhere that you want to go to work. So if there's a negativity that creeps in or something that creeps in, we can't say we don't want to come tomorrow. So it's always trying to find a balance of it being an environment that we want to work in.
Yeah, and always
With people we want to work with.
Yeah, and always the buck stops with you.
Yes.
Because, you know, it's one of those things, as being a salon owner or a director or whatever, you are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are the owner of the salon, not just the hours in which you're there. So you have to set up everything and get it running in a way.
Somebody once said to me,
you know it's going to work.
One of my team is, when did you start, what age did you start to make big decisions? And it's like, it's not an age thing. It's when you run a business, somebody has to make the decision. So whether the decision is right or wrong, just be brave enough to make a fucking decision.
Yeah.
Jamie is in charge of the money.
Yeah.
Yes. I am quality. That's a little bit
It's
of a battle.
balance.
It's balance sometimes. I do not see any point in doing something half-heartedly. Whatever it is you do, whether it is a show, whether it is a salon, whether it is a scissor choice, whether it is cutting a client's hair, whether it is doing anything, I don't do anything half-heartedly. And I also don't take no for an answer. I find a way of doing it. And it doesn't mean I go over budget.
Bollocks. Yeah, so anyway, Sal's getting her crop of money trees ready that she's going to pay for this salon with.
But do you know what? It will mean I will do another day's work and I will do another day's clients, and I will find a way of making what I want happen.
Yeah,
And Jamie, luckily, understands
yeah, perfectly well, eh?
perfectly well how it happens. But, you know,
No.
saying that, no, it is budgets. You do work to budgets. You do work to this. You know, if you run a business, we always say, running a business, everyone says, how do you run a business? It's really easy. Just don't spend more money than you make.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
business, I mean...
That's it. That's our business plan.
The hairdressing business is the simplest possible
Yes.
business. It's people come in, they have their hair cut, they pay as they leave.
Yes.
There's no invoice on payment later. You know, the client is hopefully happy and
Yep.
they return.
Yep.
And then you do that time and time again. And as long as you haven't got a hole in the bucket, the business grows. It could not be an easier business. And you just don't spend more money than you take.
And you don't overcomplicate it. The more things you have that will break or go wrong, or you can keep or you take away, the worse it is.
It's nice and simple.
Nice and
And, you know, but also something that, you know, you're not going to get a better haircut in a salon that spent £10 million on a refit than 500
Nope.
grand. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes people get completely carried away with, you got to spend more, you got to spend more, you got to spend more. It's like, no, you just spend what you need to spend to give you the environment
that you want
and
to work
it's actually more about having a quality environment than it is whistles and bangs. And I think sometimes when people do new salons or open salons, they spend so much time worrying about what speaker system or foil machine. It's like, well, when was the last time any of your staff went on a training course? When was the last time you checked their skills? When was the last time they invested into better scissors, better equipment? But I think
Just buy the right thing.
I mean, that's
how-
something that we've learned from doing this
That's it.
salon, is you just do it, you know, like buy cheap, buy twice, right? So you spend what you need to spend, but then it lasts, you know, like,
Everything should last 10 years.
yeah.
10 years. Like,
Do
we
you know what I
don't want
mean?
things to last
Yeah.
forever. We don't want things to last forever. We
Yeah.
want the things that are expensive to last forever.
Yeah.
Lighting, that has to last forever. Scissors has to last a long time.
Yeah.
Other things, you kind of want to change.
Yeah, and that's something you learn in a salon, is you don't, like, your real core things like your floor, your lighting, that kind of stuff is really important, but your bits around the salon, you
wanna
want
be
to
able to
change.
change.
You want to be able to change them, you know, and certain things in the salon we did spend a lot of money on, and they'll they'll actually last past us.
So I did it right. After all that argument, I did it right. Yeah.
Certain bits, but there are. But it is something that you've just got to.
It's the same with the team, isn't it? We invest heavily in our training. We invest heavily in training our apprentices because you want them to last and have a career that is long.
Yeah,
Not a short career, a long career.
Yeah, and that's something with young hairdressers that we haven't really touched on is that you also got to have longevity, and I think
you got to have enough.
Yeah, you got to have enough
to pull out
in your bag. We've got to sort of future-proof young hairdressers, because what tends to happen is people just learn what is of the moment, right? So they're like, oh, I do this type of haircut because that's what people want. But then in 5 years' time, no one does want it, and then the trouble is they become really frustrated because they can't do what is going to be next. Whereas if you spend more time at the start, because the minute you shortcut something, the problem is you're not as good and you're just not as experienced at something, and you've got to do lots and lots and lots of them to become a real master, right? And that's just how it works. Whereas I think now with the young people, and we don't have a lot of choice because everyone does want to be through faster, we're sort of pushing them through quicker as well. And I don't think, but then in 5 or 10 years time, they won't actually be thinking us for it because they'll be like, I haven't got enough skills. Yeah. And
sorry, what was the question again?
About what's next for the industry.
Yeah, because you didn't answer it, so I have to ask him.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was a totally different question. But yeah, no, and I do think, I mean, hair will always change, and it does change quicker. I would say, I think we're heading back towards globally in fashion as well. Things aren't so throwaway now. Things aren't as sort of disposable. People want good quality haircuts that last longer rather than of the moment. People almost are going old school to go new school.
I hope to see the collaboration side of the industry that has really been growing in the last few years. People collaborating with fashion designers and actually taking some risks. I hope as an industry we try different events, we try different things, and we, not everything's going to work, but I think we need to not be quite as safe as we are.
Yeah, and I think it's about elephants in the room. I think we need...
Jamie's really good at elephants in the room.
Elephants in the room, like people...
Really good at elephants.
Yeah. People there are real problems in the industry. We have problems with the splintering, with magazines at each other's throats, events at each other's throats, that these have to be talked about. And everyone's like, oh yeah, isn't it? Oh, it's a bit sunny today. Do you know what I mean? No, talk about the problems that we have.
But
we need to address them.
There are, even though the industry might be a little bit splintered, the people that are in the splinters are bloody incredible. Their hearts and their passions are totally in the right place. I hear there's quite a lot of negativity in the industry. I don't actually see that. I speak to lots of people and I'm involved with a lot of people. I only hear the positive and the make the industry better. I think everyone's in that same space. So I think we're in a very safe place of people caring. We just need to somehow connect it together.